What's up, guys? Brad Thomas here with the crew, Josh Lander and player prop savant. We are back with another episode of Bankroll Blitz. And, times have been tough for your boy, Mr. Brad Thomas here. Alabama, Nick Saban retired. And not only did I have to prep for the NFL, I had to find a way to go to sleep with total stress every night, sleepless nights for the past 2 days. But good golly, Miss Molly, we got a coach, Kellen DeBoer from Washington. And even more so, I want to tell you guys how much I love this podcast and how dedicated I am to this show. I tore my meniscus. I literally went to the orthopedics today, found that out. And instead of stopping at the pharmacy to get any of my painkillers, I drove directly back here to make sure we got this show off and running, because not only do I have a great time hanging out with my lads, but we're making a ton of money. So as I said, I want to introduce the two with me. We got Josh Lander here at JL Boogie on Twitter, and we got player prop savant at player_props. For those who don't know, what we're going to do is give our 3 best plays and put together a touchdown parlay. When that touchdown parlay hits, we're going to give that money away. How do you get that money? Well, you're going to go on Twitter at Bankroll Blitz. You're going to find the tweet about this episode. You're going to retweet and you're going to like it. Repost. And you have to be following. I'm excited to get things going. But for anybody who's watching on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button right now. Subscribe and ring the bell. It'll let you know when we go live. I'm going to kick things off. I've been talking a lot, but I'm on one right now. So I'm going to start with my very first play, and it's my favorite play of the weekend. It's Isaiah Pacheco over 64.5 rushing yards. I'm playing it up to 66.5 is my cutoff. Not that I don't think he's going to smash it, because I am going to take him 100 plus in the alt market. But there's 2 main factors that come into play here. Isaiah Pacheco, this is his backfield. He's going to get the carries. I bet him over 15.5 carries. I was going to bet him at even higher and double down, but it got too rich for my blood. They're playing against a Dolphins team. Let me read off this list to you. The Dolphins' injuries that are going to impact the run. Jerome Baker's on the IR. Bradley Chubb's on the IR. Andrew Van Ginkel on the IR. We have corners, Xavier Howard questionable. Deshaun Elliott questionable. Javon Holland questionable. And, the weather's going to be terrible. It's going to be a run-first game. If we watch that Pittsburgh Steelers game in their last game, we saw that it was bad weather against the Ravens. This is going to be worse. What happened in that Pittsburgh Steelers game? Najee Harris ran the ball for over 25 yards. This is going to be the same exact thing for Pacheco. So you might ask, Brad, does it line up with the statistics? Well, yeah, sure. The Dolphins, without the injuries, they're still 16th in defensive DVOA against the run. So I like Pacheco to get the 65 rushing yards that he needs. I also like him to rush for 100 plus. I got to price that out. But do you guys have any objections to this play?
I don't think so, man. I like it. I mean, what are you going to do? It's going to be, if it's anything like what I'm seeing here in Wisconsin, right now it's about 10 degrees, sideways snow. If it's anything like this, I think Arrowhead games can be pretty boring. They're just running that football. So I got no objections on mine.
Yeah. No, you got to target everything that is not passing football in those in both of those snow-capped games, right? If we even know where Buffalo is going to play. But yeah, no objections, man, to the dude who just runs like he's, looking for people to bounce off of, right? Like he somehow gets more energy from their body and he just hits them and then he goes off of them somehow and like has a burst from that. That's been incredible. So yeah, no, I'm with the Pacheco one for sure. Let me jump in, because I'm going to keep it to the player props too. And I'm going to take one of my overs here that I'm talking about, which is Cooper Kupp. And I'm going to come back to him too, because I think he is going to score a tutty in this one. But I do like the value of the fact that Puka's got a like 8-yard higher prop line than he does. Last I checked anyway, which was like earlier this morning. So I hope that's still the case. I don't see it moving like 8 yards, right, in 4 hours. But the 68.5 is what I got Cooper Kupp at earlier today. And like I said, I just like the value in a moment where he's coming in and it's the playoffs. And that's what's going to make Matty Stafford feel more comfortable than anything is Cooper Kupp. And I think he was happy to keep it a little bit more Puka heavy, even since Cooper came back, partly for the purpose of having a completely healthy dude. And I just think every single third down at this point, because the other thing too, I do think, just to talk about the game theory a little bit, like there is the likelihood that CJ Gardner's, who's coming back this week, is playing a little bit more in the slot. right? And is going to try to take that away a bit more. And that's probably not going to be as wide open of a Puka roughly 12 yards down the field in those seams. I don't think you'll see that nearly as much. You'll probably get a little bit more man than you might otherwise have from the Lions as a result. But all of that just leads me to say, like, I do think you're going to have Cooper Kupp on the edges with one-on-one matchups consistently enough that that's 7 yards in the bag right there every single time, right? So I think the receptions are decent too. It's like annoyingly hovering right at 6.5 and 5.5 for him. To go over 6.5 is like still plus 120 or so. It's the best juice you can get, but then you got to eat it if you want to take the 5.5. So figure that I hate that conundrum always, but I usually figure it out. So what do y'all think about Mr. Kupp?
I like it. So I'm going to put together a parlay that involves Matthew Stafford's passing yards, and I'm going to take him 300 plus as well. The Lions 16th in the NFL in defensive DVOA against the pass, and the Lions, guess what? I love this. That correlates with Cooper Kupp, second in the NFL in yards allowed to the number one wide receiver at 89.5. They're playing indoors at Ford Field on a fast track. I love this play. I'm not too worried about Puka kind of sniping this out either. Yeah. It's a good spot, good find. You heard me say "ooh" when you announced it.
Yeah, I can let it roll here. I will back your play by using my play because we're using the exact type of thought process. I'm going to same game parlay over on FanDuel. I'm going to be buying down Amon-Ra St. Brown to 60 receiving yards and taking Matthew Stafford at 250. So I'm going to be. I like Puka. I like Cooper Kupp. I like Robinson. The common factor is Matthew Stafford throwing on the ball and getting me those props. So I don't have to – I've gotten burned on those guys back and forth. When I bet on Kupp, it's the other guy going off. Right. It's just been switching. Yeah. And Robinson has taken a huge step forward for them, and we're starting to see an actual three-headed monster now out there. But what I really want to talk about here was Kyren Williams has been a dog this year. He's been awesome, a guy you want to back in all these prop spots. But that Lions front seven is legit, and they're gonna be able to slow that run game down. Right. So that's like 25 carries this dude's been getting lately. So if we can get that down to 17, 18, maybe a little bit more in the passing game for Kyren Williams, get him the ball in that way. Stafford has gone over in 5 straight games at this number. And I mean, those 5 straight games have been quote unquote playoff games. These guys have needed to win every single one of them. And when it comes down to that, you're putting the ball in their best player's hands. That's Matthew Stafford. Going to the other side on Amon-Ra, he's hit this in every single home game this year. He had 7 home games, hit it in every single one, averaging over 100 yards per game at home this year, over 7 catches per game. Everybody knows Jared Goff is significantly better at home, and you know where he's looking. You got no Laporta. He's already hitting that with Laporta in there. Now you take him away. It's going to be his wide receiver core to take over. So I'm expecting a big game from him. Like I said, every single home game hit this number at 60. It's a good buy down spot. I think that's literally his bottom floor is Amon-Ra at 60 yards. The dude's been going crazy, and definitely willing to back an NFC North guy in Mr. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. I already on Matthew Stafford, which I'll post on my Twitter at Mr. Brad Thomas. But Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a good guy all season to get those yards. Getting him down to 60 is pretty nice.
I thought about him for a tutty. I just couldn't find anything that like made me think it. But I mean, obviously, Laporta wasn't really even sniping any sort of like just low yardage, right? Like we saw Laporta score more from further out than you might expect a tight end to get his touchdown. So I don't know if Laporta being out really does like even help Amon-Ra more, right? Like it's really just he was already sort of the top receiver target to get into the end zone within the red zone. So I still just don't really like I didn't know if I liked it enough to hit it is what I'm saying. I didn't know if you guys had an opinion about the tutty for Amon-Ra.
The odds were weird, man. I checked it. Yeah. It was like plus 100. I mean, I want a little bit more because you see that dude, David Montgomery is going to get anything inside the 5-yard line. Yeah. So it's just really tough.
Yeah, I tried to stay pretty far away outside of my one TD guy for touchdowns this week because as we get deeper and deeper into the season, like in the playoffs, the touchdown lines are awful. Like and I don't even know if it's because they have been smashed or they just don't offer them. But like maybe by the time I start looking
on it, it's because there's so many more newbies betting on football. So they don't know that you used to be able to get like a Christian McCaffrey touchdown at plus 210 back in forever ago, right? They don't know that. They know minus 280 for a CMC tutty. And like, so they're coming in going, I'm on Raw for even money. That's incredible. And I'm like, this man should be way closer to 2-1 than he is to 1-1. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. Let me get into my play. This is pretty Let's go with the teaser. I texted Josh yesterday and I said I'm going to tease the hell out of this
Tease roll
weekend.
blitz.
So this is probably tease roll blitz. This is probably going to be the first of many teasers that I do.
Same.
It's 8-point teaser, okay? And not every book offers 8-point teasers. So with that being said, if you do not have access to an 8-point teaser and you're doing a 6-point teaser, do this teaser without the Chiefs. And I'll explain that because like when I give you the teams. The teaser brings you down Bills -2, Chiefs +3.5, Eagles +5. If you drop it to 6, all of these cover the key number except for the Chiefs. The Chiefs do not cover that key number there, which makes it a play that doesn't make sense to tease in the playoffs. So starting with the Bills game, I didn't want to take them at their 10, but I also didn't want to take the Steelers at the plus 18 there. And it's not because I don't think the Steelers can hang around. It's just I don't want this to be one of those lopsided first round matches where Mason Rudolph or whoever's under center is just getting exposed, trying to throw in this really bad weather. The weather is going to be tough. And I know the Steelers are a up north team, if you want to call it, that's played in cold weather, but no, there are not many teams that are used to this year in and year out, like the Buffalo Bills, like a Josh Allen, like a Sean McDermott. So I brought this down to -2. Next leg, Chiefs versus Dolphins. I liked the Chiefs at -4. And I just couldn't get myself to bet them at -4.5. Maybe I'm superstitious. Teams don't cover a lot when they're 4.5-point favorites, but they cover when they're 4. It's really weird. But listen, Miami Dolphins, I talked about this a little bit earlier, just a ton of injuries. And this is not a team that's built for just pound it, low pound game, especially if Raheem Mostert decides to not suit up for this game. And this is not taking anything away from Devon Achane. He is a fabulous runner who's averaging over 6 yards per carry, but it helps when you're using speed and spreading the defense out. But now when they're able to load the box, I think it's going to be a little bit different story. And I don't think that people really understand this Chiefs team yet. They're used to the glitz and glamour of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and all these big, massive plays. This is a Chiefs team whose defense is really stout, who's playing at home, and Arrowhead's going to be absolutely rocking. The last game, this one, I'm going to tell you this right now. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. It brings them up to 5. If I make it to the night game, I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Bucks +3 and try to play both sides. But I do like the Eagles +5 here. The Bucks, we've said this multiple times on the show, do not blow teams out. I think the last time I said that, though, so knock on wood, last time I said that they actually got destroyed as the favorite against the Saints. I would have been all over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. I have a little bit of action on their money line, but I would have been all over them +3 here. But they have high blowout potential. And it's not because of how great the Philadelphia Eagles have been. The Eagles have been pretty awful. They're 29th in defensive DVOA. Jalen Hurts has a finger that's bent in half. A.J. Brown was out the last game. Devonta Smith got banged up the last game. There's just no continuity in this team. They're talking about firing Nick Sirianni. All of the writing is on the wall for them going down to Tampa Bay during prime time, losing, and Sirianni gets fired. But let's not act like this is a healthy Bucs team. Outside of that defense, who's been playing pretty well, Baker Mayfield didn't practice the last 2 days, citing ribs and ankle injuries. If you remember, they only scored 9 points against the Panthers. I understand you only need a win and you're in, but Baker didn't look healthy in that either. When he ran for that first down to seal the victory, he was literally hobbling. So I do think the Eagles win here. I do like the Bucs to win here, but I don't think the Bucs have the 6 and 7 point victory under their belt, not against a team still as good as the Eagles. So the teaser is Buffalo Bills -2, Chiefs +3.5, and Eagles +5 pays out 105.
Good looks.
Yeah. Are you on any sides right now, Justin? Are you talking about anything
I don't bet sides.
Yeah.
Nope. Only props only.
That's what the name says, baby.
Oh yeah, baby. Nothing else. We
I
all go
got you.
sides. NFL is too sharp for me, man. You guys are sharper at that. I'll stick to just
Brad's been nailing the teasers for sure. I
don't really play sides that often unless I get ahead of like potential movement. Now I normally just tease, or unless like I know this line is going to move, so we're going to get an extra a point and a half of value.
Yeah. The only time I'm playing sides straight without a teaser is when I'm getting information from people that I trust way more than myself about the NFL. It's not information I derive from my own projections, because they're just that good at it, and they're doing it Saturday night before or Friday night. Like I'm not, so that's not worth even trying to touch, like you said. But the Sunday morning teaser or whatever day of teaser, right, of the game, I have been feeling that a lot, which I've talked about on the show too, because like I said, smarter people than me have been saying like, well, once you get a number that's been pushed and moved so much that it finally just lands where it's at by like Saturday, it's there, and by Sunday morning it's a reasonably like set line that you can actually mess with, and you're teasing a line that actually has a strong anchor in like science and fact, right, in the market pressure, whatever. So anyway, let me get into some player props, all that said, because I'm not touching these sides anyway. So the next one I want to go with is Joe Flacco, and just talk about his attempts, because I don't know how many completions he's going to get. I don't know that I would say like he's going to get close to the 27 necessarily that he got last time, but I do know he's going to be throwing the ball, because I just know his team can't really run the ball at this point, to be honest. And I think I kind of know what Jerome Ford is anyway, in my own opinion, but it's not like someone who's going to carry your offense as the lead back. So the 37.5 pass attempts is a number that I took for him already. I like that for minus 110. And he's, the last game was the only game that he's played for the Browns now that he did not get this number. He went over in the first 4 games he played for them. And then last week against the Jets, he just didn't need to throw it any more times than he did, because he had 309 yards, right, on like less than 25 completions. So he was just sort of carving them up, not really needing to overextend himself in that game, which wasn't very close. But other than that, right, we're talking about him doing this consistently on this squad, because of the fact that even on these short down situations, he's throwing that often, going over 42 in the other 4, or at least 42 in all of the other 4. And with Houston, like, I mean, man, to me, D'Amico Ryan should be coach of the year because of what I'm about to say, which is this team went from historically awful at stopping the run to a very like above average run defense, like better than its pass defense, which isn't awesome, but it's still saying something, because that run defense has turned into a funnel that you really do need. You just can't go right down the middle necessarily, but they are adding in 2 awesome edge rushers as well, as we know, who I think are both going to be available. And that's going to, give Flacco a bit of trouble. But even if you look at Flacco having the potential with some offensive line injuries, as we know for the Browns, okay, so he gets a sack, fumble, and they're on a short field now, right? The Texans are on the 20 and they're going to score. Okay, well, now he's down 7 and gets the ball back a few minutes later. So I think the completions are still going to be there for that, right? And they've shown a propensity to throw in every game script, positive, neutral, and otherwise. They're throwing the ball more than they're not. So I'm not really worried about any of these factors coming in and impacting what we've already seen from him. Like, what we've seen from him is the norm. So I'm just going to keep riding that, basically.
No, Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I always, whenever I back Flacco this year, it's just been on those yards, because he's just been chucking deep balls down there. So he's been good to me on those. Longest completion has been nice. But yeah, I have yet to travel into the attempt market for him, so I'll be tailing them.
Flacco has been fun betting his overs, especially when they first came out, his yards overs, because I feel like they didn't know how to price them. It's been pretty good for anybody who jumped on those early.
I feel
Justin, go ahead and give me your next play.
Yeah, I'll stick with quarterbacks. You're going with the attempts with Flacco. I'll be going with completions for my guy Jordan Love. I'm going back to my Packers here. Obviously, if you can't tell already, I'm a Packers fan, pretty diehard. We go to a lot of games, and one of the games I do want to mention was the Chargers game earlier on in the season. That was a really big game when I was there, because you got Aaron Jones with a tough knee injury, and you also had Christian Watson go down with another hamstring injury. The reason why I bring that up is because before that, the Packers were very, very, very prone to just throwing that ball down the field and running that ball, and LaFleur was getting a lot of flack, right? Because their offense was terrible.
Yeah.
Because they just kept trying to force how we played with Rodgers on Jordan Love, and that was not where he was, right? So take Jones out, take Watson out. This offense has had to turn into short crossing routes, underneath tight end work. We've been doing really good getting Tucker Kraft those underneath routes. And now Luke Musgrave is coming back. So that's another important spot, especially when you're facing the edge rushers. That is Micah Parsons leading the league in pressures, all that. You got to deal with that. Throw me a little short underneath route, right? Those long crosses are fixing from where we were going with Watson down the field. What I really want to talk about is, since that game, Jordan Love has been over this number in 6 of 8. Right. he's been absolutely awesome in those games, and they're finally getting him very, I'm not going to say easy completions, but easier completions, right? He's been over 66% completion rate in 6 of 8 of those games, and one of them was 65%. So early on, we're forcing the deep ball. Now we're going a little bit more underneath. And I'm looking at these teams that they played that got pressure on them, right? The teams that blitz a lot, teams that have good edge rushers. Vikings, right? They blitz the most in the NFL. They send an extra guy almost every single time. 2 games against them, 24 and 25 completions for him, underneath routes, under 8 yards per attempt. Kansas City got pressures, 3 sacks. Chargers got pressures, 3 sacks, 25 and 26 completions, all under 8 yards per attempt. Going to be underneath. Show me some love, Jaden Reed. You can make stuff happen after the catch, but you got to catch it first. Let's give me those 5-yard completions. Turn them into those 40, and we'll see another winner here from Jordan Love because the dude has been an absolute wagon for me. If you've been following me, I've been playing this every single primetime game of Jordan Love. I've been posting Jordan Love completion. The dude is a wagon. Continue to roll with him. Don't think they win, but I think he shows up.
I remember the last primetime game. I tailed you, but I got the bad number, and he made that one last pass, that pointless pass, and I was freaking out. I was like, "Let's go, let's go!" I remember that very.
He's a man of the people, man.
He is. Like you guys were like beating him so bad, and I was like, "Well, I'm dead. I'm dead." Like everyone who got the real number is cashing. I got the bad number. He throws the pass. It was like. And it was like second down too. It wasn't even third and long. It was like second down. I was like, let's go. I also took Jordan Love. Anybody who tailed my sweat free on Twitter, I took Jordan Love over. It was 250, I believe, 250 passing yards. So
yeah, AJ Dillon might be out again. So they had list him as doubtful, which again just really, really helps this bet because Aaron Jones is going to touch that ball a lot, but they have been passing him the ball a lot too. So
yeah. I was waiting for you to see if you had anything to add, but
my bad. Yeah, no, like y'all nailed it. I was
cool.
literally only going to ask and extend the conversation differently because I was just like, I used to not. I was a Jordan Love non-believer. I was wondering, as a Packer fan, were you always on board with J Love?
I think early in the year, and obviously the Kansas City game last year, he showed flashes. It was just the offense didn't change yet. Like it didn't switch. So. After that Chargers game, after we started seeing him like throw, easy completions, not get behind the chains as much, you get to start seeing those flash throws that he had. Utah State, it's not a huge school, not a huge powerhouse there, but you could see those flashes, those athletic plays. He gets out of the pocket well, which we need because the pass protection on these couple games have been a little bit iffy. So athleticism, getting out, being able to make those deep throws, and these young receivers stepping up, man. It's cool to see. Bo Melton, dude was on the freaking practice squad 3 weeks ago, and now he's our number 1 receiver over the last 2 weeks. It's been wild. So fun to watch, though.
Hell yeah.
Good segue talking about the Packers. I'm going to be fading the Packers pass defense in my next play. Packers defense that is 226 in defensive DVOA. And, I say defensive DVOA a lot. It's not the main number, the main thing that I look at, right? Like I factor in a lot of stuff and I try to be very true to what I do and be very honest. DVOA is a really good metric to look at that kind of levels the playing field. And what I mean by that is, when we look at DVOA against the run, but you have like maybe a running back that's running the ball, a team that's running the ball 70-30, of course, a team is going to have worse rushing data against that team. So if you look at the Green Bay Packers, and why I'm saying this, if you look at the Green Bay Packers, they only allow like 200 passing yards per game. But then you look at the Packers division, number 1, you look at who the Packers have played this season, it kind of correlates and makes sense. So I wasn't fully comfortable going all the way to Dak Prescott to 285 passing yards. I went Dak Prescott 250 plus passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. First of all, we're talking about Dak Prescott passing touchdowns. He's hit that in every single game since week 7. He's hit that in every single, since week 7. He's hit that in every single game but one. The one game he didn't hit it was against Buffalo. Obviously, when you only score 1 touchdown, it's hard to pass for 2 of them. He's been hitting this number at a very high rate. I already said the defensive DVOA. And one thing I really like about this Cowboys offense now is kind of weird. When McCarthy at the beginning of the year said, we're going to run the damn ball, I don't think he realized that Tony Pollard wasn't going to be getting those gashing runs that he was getting as the number 2 or the spell back to Ezekiel Elliott. they adapted, they changed, they put the weight on the shoulders of Dak Prescott. I think there's nobody in the NFL, more in the NFL, who wants to win a playoff game than Dak Prescott. So I imagine with CeeDee Lamb getting to 250 yards is a lot easier. And then the passing touchdowns, sure, Pollard might get one. But this is a team when it's first in goal from the 5-yard line, they're not running the ball, they're throwing the ball. When you have guys like Jake Ferguson, now Brandon Cooks, who's getting red zone targets, and CeeDee Lamb there, I think that the 2 passing touchdowns nice, and the price is pretty solid. You can get a better line than minus 129, but I took 129 because it was what I had available down here in Florida.
Yeah, I'll never talk smack on Dak, man. I had him in fantasy in 2 leagues. He's been awesome. He's been really, really good, and he's at home. Right. Man. I mean, he's a different beast. It's crazy, crazy how big of a difference it makes when you get in front of the crowd versus on the road. So
yes,
love it.
Especially for him, because I'm gonna be fading him as soon as he's not at home. I'll tell you that for sure. So if that day comes, but. I'll close it out this part of it with my last bets, another QB that we haven't talked about yet. But back to that Browns game with the Texans and taking CJ Stroud over 242.5. And if you're only looking at how many yards per game the Browns defense allows on the road, which is way more than at home, still pretty scary because it's still only at 207. But at home, it was 126 on the season, which is even more absurd that's the amount of passing yards they allowed at home. So, it's really about the splits for me in this one. I know there's a lot of talk of quarterbacks who have started a game versus quarterbacks who haven't, right? And against the spread stuff, like not as big of a trends better myself, to be honest with you. I believe in certain things for certain reasons, and I don't have like you tell me that like a dude who's never played in the playoffs is less likely to be okay, fine. But like also like if he's a young dude who never played in the playoffs, he probably has a crap team that he just brought to the playoffs on his own strength vis-a-vis CJ Stroud, right? And they got better everywhere. Like I shouted out D'Amico earlier and everybody else, like great, but you're not where you are if you don't have CJ. If Davis Mills is what do we do? It's not even a question, right? So, I think he's been an anomaly all season, right? He's already had historic rookie quarterback moments throughout the year and things that he, what is award records that he set. I couldn't think of the word records. It's Friday, y'all. But yeah, all this is, like I said, the splits, because for him it's the same shit. Like him on the road is a much different quarterback than CJ Stroud at home. 311 passing yards when he's been at home this season versus 232, and it's the yards per completion too, about 9 per game, per completion when he's at home. The ADOT in general, everything is just a lot higher. He's pushing the ball further down the field, and that's been a huge part of why they're scoring more points there. So I do think that this is going to be a decent shootout. Like I do like points in any game that's not being played, in a complete snowstorm and blizzard, right? Those games do seem ripe for a bit more points, even on the Browns side against this Texans defense. I still we've seen them have success with a slightly more injured Texans defense, but I'm starting to talk myself into the Texans as I'm talking about CJ Stroud too, to be honest with you. So we'll see if I do lay that down, but I already got a nice number with him at 242.5.
I can't take the Texans because rookies in their first game in the playoffs are so bad against the spread. Something like 10-39, and like,
oh wow,
it's bad. Maybe it's 10-20 something, but like it's still pretty bad. I didn't want to go with there.
I didn't do it yet.
No, but I always feel bad like trying to talk someone off something.
No.
Let's go with Mr. Player Prop Savant's last play because it's one of my guys.
Yeah, dude, I love me some Buccaneers this week. I've been drafting a lot of best ball playoff onlys, and I'm finding my way to a lot of Buccaneer spots because people are really low on them, and I don't really understand. I've been playing a ton of Rachaad White this year, and I've been just continually backing this man. This guy was 5K on DraftKings in DFS week 1. This man ended the year in the 8Ks. That is crazy. That is nuts that you see a guy like that. But it's because pure volume. You're looking for volume when you're looking at these number 1 running backs. And now you get the Eagles, right? You get this Eagles team that is struggling heading into the playoffs. They gave up, I should probably tell you what my play is, over 91.5 rushing plus receiving yards for Rachaad White.
Oh, yeah.
Gave this up 3 straight times in the last 3 weeks. James Conner absolutely nuked this number on just rushing yards. You go to Saquon Barkley twice, and you know what the Giants were doing, and they needed to win those games, and you still couldn't stop it. Saquon scored a touchdown in every one of those games. James Conner scored a touchdown in those games, right? I love the volume. You get 4 targets in each of the last 3 games. This dude is a target hog on those underneath. I love him in the 2-minute drill. He just gets those dump offs that Baker just loves to toss him down there if he's getting any pressure on him. Obviously, you can't really send any of your best guys because you still got Mike Evans on the side.
Yep.
And Chris Godwin's finally turning into what he was last year. It just did not mesh early on in the season, really struggled. Now, I think it was because his wife messaged or something. Didn't his wife say something in the press saying, hey, get my husband the ball? And they do get some 10 catches in a game, ends up going crazy. 23 opportunities, targets plus rush attempts in 5 of the last 6 games. We've seen this Eagles defense get absolutely destroyed, and the Giants are putting up 20 plus on you. I am not a huge fan of this Eagles team yet. I think that at home, Tampa's going to be able to put up a pretty good fight. And we've seen it doesn't matter what the game script is. Rachaad White is going to be involved. It does not matter if you're down 20. If you're up 20, Rachaad White will ice the clock, and he will be the dump-off guy. They've been bringing in Chase Edmonds once in a while. I've been seeing people talk about it. Dude, he's literally coming in there so Rachaad gets a drink of Gatorade, and then he comes right back in. This dude is an absolute bell cow back, fighting with only Christian McCaffrey and Kyren Williams in terms of touch rate for the running back position for their team. Love me some Rachaad White. I'm all over that guy. He's over 60% of my best ball lineups have Rachaad White in them, and I am very, very happy with that.
Man, it's pretty funny because, like, there's not that many options of players that, like, in good plays. I'm on Rachaad White receptions this week on my
What'd you get it
at? 3.5.
Okay.
Ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Like, dude is involved. He is his usage is high. I like his rushing receiving. I like his receiving over 27.5. We talked about this is a home game for the Buccaneers, so you already know they're going to have that little bit of a boost there, which I think kind of helps them with the beaten up quarterback, right? Because it's okay. You feel more confident being able to run the ball. You're going to get that little extra oomph from your offensive line. But guess what? You're still going to pass the ball because Baker's issue with his injury, his rib injury, is he hasn't been able to throw the ball. Like, he's been able to throw a ball, which is dumb. He hasn't been able to put like his full force into the deep ball throws, which means a lot of it has been short to intermediate, which who do you think Canales has been designing plays for there? That's Rachaad White in that short and intermediate and Chris Godwin.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, no, I love it. I've been on, like, I'm one of those dudes who's like, I'm gonna keep hitting black until red falls, right?
Yeah.
And like Rachaad White just keeps hitting, so I wasn't gonna stop it. And I'm always gonna add that receiving in there because absolutely wild how good of a receiver he's been all season long with a decent average with a decent ADOT for a running back. It's like positive. That's all you can say, which is good for a running back. So yeah, I'm here for the Rachaad White exposure that you put yourself to with all those best ball lineups. That's tight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean he's very. I'm not gonna say go out here and say he's like an elite running back. The dude is very inefficient running the ball, but when you get the volume at 19 carries, 22 carries, 25 carries, he's had in some of these games.
Yeah,
it's just volume you can't pass up. That means all I need to have him do is get 4 a pop and then 2 catches, and we're here. It's just crazy when you see a volume like that, and it's not CMC and it's not Kyren.
Right.
It's just like. It's really tough to get away from him, almost taking over that Lenny role in the passing game from him, but just more carries. So definitely a guy that I'm going to be looking forward to playing next year as well.
For sure.
Yeah. Let's get to this touchdown parlay. I'm going with Mr. CeeDee Lamb. What's funny is I'm playing CeeDee Lamb, and anybody who follows Gold Boys, I'm going to be doing a CeeDee Lamb parlay for the Gold Boys video, but I'm going to definitely be on the touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, it's like minus 170. So I'm not adding a bunch of value to this play. It's really hard for me to hype up a minus odds play, but the man has scored a touchdown in 7 of his last 8 games. He's getting hella red zone targets, has the highest outside of Dak Prescott, the highest red zone snap share on the team for skill position players. So I like CeeDee Lamb a lot.
Yeah. Any of these receivers for the Cowboys, and obviously they finally decided they're just going to throw it to their best one only. And between he and Jake Ferguson with a smattering of Brandon Cooks in there, so I'm with all that. I don't have anything different than Cooper Kupp, man. 6 touchdowns in 4 games in the playoffs in his career at this point. We know what he is with or without a second wide receiver, which he certainly does have one now. And even like you said, Marcus Robinson as well coming in, and now they legit have 3. So I only like that more for him because I like it more when Cooper Kupp is more likely to have single coverage on the outside. Any type of inward slant or outward post inside the red zone for him is going to be a solid play. Like I definitely think he's looking at like 3 red zone targets, right? Which, not to say he can't break a 40-yard touchdown, because he obviously can on that deep ball from Stafford, which might be how it goes, but all I need is one of them. So I think it's a good play to add to this. I normally try to go running back as much as I can when we get close to even money, because we've got 3 plays and, we just want to get as close to 21 or 10 to 1 or so, 12 to 1. Well, really, we do want to get as close to 20, but if we can get at least 12, we're looking for it. So I'm happy with Kupp on this one.
Yeah. No complaints here.
I like that. Go ahead. Let it ride. Go ahead, Justin.
I'm going right back to Rachaad White, getting around -110, -120. I think I'm getting a really good number here just because when you look at him over these last 2 weeks, they beat Carolina 9-0, no touchdowns, right? You go to the week before against the Saints. That's a division rivalry game, tough spot. Prior to that, we're getting to those numbers you guys were just talking about for these elite dudes. 7 touchdowns in his last 8 games. If you go past those 2, we're getting a nice recency bias, little tick down. We get a nice little market there. If he would have scored in those 2 games, this would be like -180. You know what I mean? So we're getting really good odds on this spot. Obviously, you got volume galore. You have no big guy to come in. You don't have a Latavius Murray to come in on the one. You don't have a Taysom Hill to come steal a touchdown. The Jamal Williams of last year, David Montgomery taking it from Gibbs. All of those guys that are strictly for that short down yardage, they don't have it. They have one guy. He's going to be out there. I want volume in the playoffs, and especially in a spot where you're the dog, you're at home, you got to come out and put something on the board. I think Rachaad White's putting one in the end zone for sure, -110 to -120.
Helpful.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like it. So, guys, listen, if anybody who's watching, go on our Twitter at Bankroll Blitz and make sure you find the tweet, retweet, repost it, like, and follow us. It's +683, $20 to win 150. You will get paid. That's CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Kupp, and Rachaad White. Before I let you guys go, they don't need a big explanation behind it, but let me get your Super Bowl prediction. Josh, we'll start with you.
I'm not changing from the jump. It's been 49ers since it was 10-1. And it's going to stay that. Like a lot would have to happen to deter me from thinking that. And it's even gotten to the point where I've started to think, because when I'm looking at how much more I'm going to continue to put on them as we get closer and closer, and I still get good odds on them to win the whole thing. I'm like, who would have to get hurt for me to be scared that ticket wouldn't hit? And it's like, kind of just Brock Purdy, and then it's Trent Williams, to be honest with you. Like it's those 2, because even CMC, right? Like even CMC with 2 guys that can come in and at least like show that they're, in Kyle Shanahan's system, if you're just a versatile, capable running back, like you can at least be put above your pay grade. And then it's like after Trent Williams, like Debo, honestly, more than anybody. The combo of Ayuk and Debo is so deadly that, other than the quarterback, their starting left tackle, and then maybe Debo, I'm like, I don't care if unfortunate circumstances happen for that ticket, I still think it's very live. So
you're the who's going to be representing the AFC if you had to pick a team?
It's hard for me to bet against the Chiefs, but man, I like your Bills right now just as much as I like anyone. I don't believe in the Ravens for a couple of different reasons. As far as like, it's not that I don't believe in them; it's that like I wouldn't bet on them as the favorite for a number of reasons coming out of that conference. Essentially,
fair. Yeah, no, that's fair. Let's go to you, Justin. Go ahead and give me your matchup, and then who you think's going to win.
Yeah, I talked about this on Pass the Prop a little earlier, and it was a spot I didn't expect myself to get to. Because usually when I have a little bit of a discourse, I don't think that I was going to go on these teams. But over these last couple of weeks, kind of thinking about it, I'm going Cowboys Bills as my final tip. I'm going Cowboys Bills. I really don't think it's going to be the Niners, bro. I just don't trust it yet. I got to see him do it. Obviously, the one game we could have seen Purdy do it, blows his arm out. And Trent Williams, dude, I'm telling you, I'm more worried about him than I think everybody else is, because that's a big man. Yeah. That's a big dude. And we've seen him get hurt 2-3 times this year. And this team is completely different because you're not running those same play actions. And now you're going to be having a team that can get pressure. That's why I'm very, like I said, I'm pretty invested in those Cowboys in best ball. They're my other team in there. I don't think there's any other team from the NFC that would come out, to be honest. I think the Packers get absolutely walloped this week by the Cowboys. And the fact that the Cowboys got pushed to the 2 seed changed everything for me. If they would have been lower in there's no chance they're going to be able to see San Francisco in that big spot. I think this is that year that Dak kind of gets over the hump. But I think that this is the year that Josh Allen gets to do it too, because everybody's been talking about, Mahomes this, Mahomes that. I mean, it's hard to not say that. Burrow beats him once and gets it to the final, but Mahomes got to go to Buffalo if they're playing. He's going to Buffalo.
It's crazy.
It's tough. And I think that if I go 1v1, I'm going to see Allen versus Lamar. I'm going to lean with Allen a little bit there. So unless Mark Andrews comes back, if he comes back healthy and we're good, then I don't have to see Rashad Bateman touch the field ever again. I can see Isaiah Likely and I can see Mark Andrews.
Exactly.
That's big. That's huge. Exactly. But I have to see it happen. I don't know if it's going to happen. So sign me up. I'm going to be going Bills Cowboys. Didn't think I'd ever say that, but that's where I'm at.
Real quick, you make a good point about Isaiah. If it's Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews out there, we don't have to see Rashad Bateman ever again. Yeah, that is a very scary team with that addition of that slot wide receiver tight end, whatever you want to call Likely at this point. Dude runs like a 4.6. So
I'm one of those sickos that Josh convinced all season to just keep adding money to the Niners.
I know.
I think until our show ended, I kept jumping.
Me too, because I was like, what am I missing?
And then at one point, I was looking at my bet slips. I have like futures bets that have Niners division winner parlayed with some random ass shit. So I'm going with Bills Niners, but I am taking Bills to win it all. Now I don't have a big story behind it, but it's something that
just
I really
do it.
like there.
Yeah. That's where we're at in the season, man. You want to talk about X's and O's when it comes to the Super Bowl, like it's fine, but yeah, if you get the Bills in the Super Bowl, I would also really like to have them with a ticket if they get to the big game. So,
all right, cool. Good. That was fun, guys. Listen, thank you for doing this. Everyone who's watching, thanks for watching. Make sure if you're listening in podcast form, subscribe. If you are watching on YouTube, smash the like button. Drop your comments of who's going to win the Super Bowl. I'm going to pick someone. Whoever guesses who's going to win Super Bowl, I'm going to give him $25. Not 50 because we're already giving away a ton of money with these touchdown parlay scores, but just to spice things up. Guys, thank you. For the fellas here, I'm Brad Thomas. Thanks for checking out Bankroll Blitz. Take care.